Yo, what's going on, everybody? So I've been playing the DragonFlight beta for a few hours now, about 3 or 4 hours now. Just want to kind of give you guys my first initial thoughts on everything. You can see right now I'm at a high point within the first zone that you go into the Dragon Isles at, which is the Waking Shore. Just so you guys can get a nice view of what everything looks like in here. That's a pretty cool looking zone, and it's got some lava. It's got some, like, it almost feels like the first zone in Mists of Pandaria. It's got some nice artwork. It's refreshing to see all the different colors in here. But so things getting started off with Brewmaster. So first of all, I mean it's like day 3 of the beta. So there's lots of things not working. For instance, I logged out, and ever since then I just have no talents. I can't apply new talents. I can look at them, but I can't actually use any of the abilities. So that's beta for you. But I just want to talk about a couple of the different things that are in here right now that I've tried and I've played around with, and things that kind of like aren't working. So first off, you'll notice that compared to my talent preview video that I did a couple weeks ago, one of the big differences you'll notice right away is that I've got myself taking Rising Sun Kick. Now, initially I didn't have me taking this, but it like shows numbers now, and the numbers look pretty nice. This is saying 5k. It was saying 10k earlier, so that may have been with the adjustment of this actually working, but I don't know. There's lots of things in here not working right now. So one of the first things that's not working is roll. So the extra charge on roll right now is not granting an extra charge at all. Whether you take Celerity or Chi Torpedo, yeah, I said that wrong. I don't care. Neither of them like work with it. Like nothing works at all. I'm hoping that the reason for this is that they're planning on moving this somewhere else, because having to take Soothing Mist, which you'll never press ever as a Brewmaster, just to get roll, the extra charge on it, seems really stupid. So I'm hoping that's why it's not working. It's because they've already intended that they're going to move it, and they've already started the initial working on that to move it somewhere else. My hope would actually be that it probably switches here, where the rollout is at, which is where when you roll, you're immune to roots and snares. I'd like to see those two change locations, just because I don't think this one's as good, and at least I could justify at least us taking either Chi Wave or Chi Burst to get the extra charge of roll, but I could never justify Soothing Mist. So it'd be nice to see if those two things change locations, or maybe even just like roll and Vivify's healing being increased, switching locations. That might be nice. That'll mean that, you know, our off healing won't be as strong, but I really do think something needs to change there. A couple other things not working in Talent Tree, which is why I don't have some of them chosen. First of all, you have Touch of Death, and you can use it below, you know, dealing damage below 15% health on any target, whether you take this talent or not. Same thing with Expel Harm. I have this button. I can use it to heal and do things even if I don't take it. That's not intended. That's something weird that's left over. Something else that's not working that I've tried out is the Fatal Touch, taking 2 talents in here that reduces the cooldown on Touch of Death by 2 minutes. The weird thing about this is when you're in the Covenant Order Hall, this says that Touch of Death is 1 minute. But as soon as you leave the Covenant Order Hall, well, I mean, I didn't look at it Orbos, but as soon as I went to Stormwind and started questing for DragonFlight, it was back at 3 minutes. Same thing when I went into dungeons, it was at 3 minutes, so there was nothing I could really do with that. Now, you'll notice I still have it taken. That's so that I can get access into Resonant Fists and summon White Tiger. This is something that wasn't showing originally. Your attacks have a chance to resonate, dealing 581 nature damage to enemies within 8 yards. This is working. This like just shows like a little green AoE coming off of you, so that's working. The Summon White Tiger statue is working, so that's why I've taken these 2 points here, even though it's literally doing nothing for me right now, and also because there's literally no reason to take this Transcendence one. So another one that's not working is this one, Bounce Back. It's giving me an ability in my spellbook saying that I have Bounce Back, but it says that it reduces the damage by 0%. So I'm not noticing any buff when I took a big hit. I didn't notice any buff or bounce back, like actually saying I was taking reduced damage. So I put a point into this, even though it's not really doing anything, because there's nothing else really on here that I would even really want to take. Yeah, so over here on the Brewmaster tree then, everything over here seems to be working. Everything that I've tested anyways, everything seems to be good. Some of the things that I've noticed just kind of like between doing some questing and doing dungeons is I feel like there's going to be, you're definitely going to get used to using these loadouts pretty quickly. For instance, while I'm questing, I'm making use of Rushing Jade Wind, but when I go into a dungeon, I've actually switched over to where I take Chi Wave, and so like I've actually just kind of replaced Chi Wave and Rushing Jade Wind and instead of use Special Delivery, because I find that while I'm questing, I'm not pressing Purifying Brew at all. Like there's literally no reason to, which, you know, it just feels better to press Rushing Jade Wind at that point. Same thing with some of these talents down here, like having Light Brewing. We probably don't need this for questing at all. Some of these talents that are doing healing based off, you know, just taking large damage. Right now, I'm not noticing that I need this. Now, I'm in max level, like, full Season 4 gear, so I'm doing more damage and taking less damage than most people, so if you're doing this with, like, a fresh tune, it might be more worth it to take some of these, but I don't know. One of the really nice things, and this was in the last set of announcements that came out for talent changes, is they switched the location of Facepalm and this double node where you can pick Shadowboxing Treads or Fluidity and Motion. This is actually really nice because, like I've mentioned, I don't use Tiger Palm at all, and I haven't really found a good reason to use Tiger Palm yet. But this being up here allows you to take Shadowboxing Treads, which I'm pulling a lot of targets while I'm questing. I'm also pulling a lot of targets, obviously, while we're doing dungeons. So I'm finding that I'm really liking Shadowboxing Treads. I tested the range of this at like the Kyrian Order Hall target dummies, and the Shadowboxing Treads seemed to hit things that were like, had to have been at least 8 yards away. So somewhere between 8 and 10 yards is the range on this kick from your primary target. So I don't know if it was from where I was at or from my primary target, but the range on this was pretty big. So being able to hit 3 targets with this, with Blackout Kick, it actually feels pretty good. So I'm thinking this is going to be like definitely a talent that we're going to want to take. You know, if we're not in a multi-target situation, say you're doing raid stuff and you just want to have the single target option, you can still take a single target option where the cooldown's reduced by a second and it does 10% more damage. Now this feels kind of weird because the other one makes it hit 2 more targets and do 20% more damage. So I'd like to see Fluidity Emotions damage up to 20 as well, and maybe be like, I don't know, yeah, still keep the 1 second cooldown, but have it still be 20%, because otherwise it's, I don't think the 1 second is going to be worth, you know, it doing 20% more damage or 10% more damage. So there's that. So there's just a couple things that I've noticed so far when I've been testing through things. Another thing that I've noticed is that like Scalding Brew feels good in dungeons, doesn't feel so great in questing, at least with max level gear right now from Season 4. I'm just kind of like blowing through things, so I'm actually finding that having this other option here, that when I use Cake Smash, it instantly refreshes the cooldown of Breath of Fire. I'm finding that really nice for questing, because then I can just Cake Smash and Breath of Fire and instantly have those things back to back each time. So that feels really good as far as like talents go. Now there's one last thing I want to talk about, because the talents that I have chosen right now, let me take 1 talent point off. So this is the amount of talents that you'll be able to choose when pre-patch comes out. Something super nice that I noticed is that if you're using Stormstyle's Last Keg and you take the talent Stormstyle's Last Keg, I was having 3 charges of Keg Smash while sitting in Shadowlands. So that's some fun stuff I'm going to look forward to in pre-patch, being able to Keg Smash 3 times in a row. Also being able to potentially, you know, have Bone Dust Brew and Weapons of Order, you know, some of those nice things come into play, some of these other things. So there's some nice stuff coming forward as far as like pre-patch goes. But okay, Thoughts on leveling. So the intro leveling experience, the very beginning starts you off in, I'm in Stormwind because I'm a dwarf right now. I'm sure it's Orgrimmar for the other, if you're a horde. But the starting experience, like, I gotta admit, the starting experience as far as like to get you into the content felt slower than Shadowlands. So you basically had to fly around Stormwind, and Stormwind's huge as it is, and I had to like talk to 3 people and then fly down to the docks, talk to somebody else, fly up to where all... Oh, look, there's Drakthir here for some reason. Talk to them, and then go back down, talk to Khadgar, and then get on the boat. It was like 5 minutes of just needlessly flying around, whereas with Shadowlands, it was like, talk to this person, which you could skip their dialogue, if you had already done it before, but you could sit through their dialogue, and then you immediately teleport to the top of Icecrown, you place the helm fragments, and then there's a short cinematic, and then you go, right? Even though it was probably about the same time with 5 minutes with all that cinematic and the slowly walking the pieces, like, the flying around Stormwind just felt tedious. Like, I get that they wanted you to meet the people that you're going to be, like, on the Dragon Isles with, that are going with you, but to me, it just kind of felt pointless. Like, just have me meet them when you're on the island. Like, the flying back and forth in Stormwind, I don't get it. Just, like, have us just go. Get on the boat and explain it while we're on the boat. Like, I'd much rather, like, there's a short, like, you actually have to sit there while the boat is going, you know, and it goes for a while. So, like, I would much rather you just be, like, meeting those people through cinematic on the boat. And that way, once you've done it once, you can just skip it the next time. But that's just my thoughts. Now, I did do the 2 dungeons that are available as you start questing. So right off the bat, Uldamian is available right as soon as you're level 60. So I did that one. This is the revamped version of Uldamian. As far as like revamps go, normally I'm not a fan of revamps. I really did not like the removal of Armory and Library for Scarlet Monastery. I felt like that kind of didn't... Those were 2 of my favorite dungeons. They kind of got rid of them. As far as Uldamian goes for the remake, I actually think that this one was done well. So a lot... Like, the first 2, like, you're still in the same area. They used a lot of the same map, and so a lot of it feels super familiar. The things that are nice about it, just from, like, experience, if you've ever done leveling and gone to Uldamian, is sometimes you'll notice that people get lost when they're going through here. You're constantly having to look at your map, figure out where you're going, look at your map, figure out where you're going. There's a bunch of optional bosses, right? A lot of times you want them all because you're questing. Some people don't want them all because they just want to be the dungeon and be done. This one felt nice because it's linear. Okay, so I know that's not like a big thing for Mythic Plus, like, oh, it's linear, doesn't feel good. I agree. Generally, I like when you've got choices in Mythic Plus, but as far as like the base dungeon goes, I felt that the way that they did it made sense. For instance, the 3 dwarves that you fight from back in the day, they're there. And instead of you looting an item off them in order to open up the next boss's door or whatever, instead, after you beat them, they're like, okay, whatever, we'll help you get through the dungeon. So there's a bunch of locked doors, we'll open them for you, and it seems like they're being all nice, but in truth, they really just want the treasure. That's all over the place. So you're going to kill the bosses, they're going to unlock the doors, and you'll get some treasure for it. So I actually thought it was a pretty fun way of doing that for the redesign. It felt really familiar. There's a new boss that's kind of like a new version of that final boss where you had different adds to fight, and I think the way that they did this feels good. He goes into the middle and kind of starts like this intermission phase where you have to kill adds around in order to get him to stop and like unshield himself. That felt pretty good. And then there's a new final boss with a little like short event thing that goes on right before it. So all in all, I thought it felt pretty good. It is a little bit longer, and there's a lot of spellcasters in there, so as far as like Mythic Plus goes in the future, that might be a little scary as far as all the spellcasters. But that's a problem for later us and ways to figure out. Now, I also did Ruby Life Pools. This is actually designed out of like the area where you go right before you learn dragon riding, which is kind of cool. So this is an actual place that you actually experience during the level experience. Right around the time you hit 61, you'll be going there and doing dragon riding, and so you'll kind of get to see it, and then you'll be inside the dungeon, which is kind of nice. So in here, it's pretty straightforward. It's a really quick dungeon. Like, you get in there, you kill a boss right away, you get on some dragons, ride up. You got to clear all the way around this ring, and then you fight 2 bosses back to back, and that's it. So super fast. Hoping that it's going to feel like a new Freehold. There's a lot of casters in there and some weird elementals that do like a weird on-death effect, kind of like some of the on-death effects that you see in lower Karazhan right now. So that'll be interesting to see just how hard it hits, especially when it comes to Mythic Plus. Could definitely see some slow people or people who aren't paying attention dying from that. So that'll be fun to deal with. And one of the things I noticed too is like the caster mobs that are in there. If you kill the wrong guy first, like you're not gonna be able to access them. So that's gonna be where some of our Ring of Peace and Clash tech comes in. So yeah, so I've done both those dungeons. I did both of them twice. They felt pretty good. Right now, as far as like leveling goes, when I'm doing quests, I'm getting like 170 gear. Yeah, you heard me right. 170 gear. So you can see those two pieces here. I got 169 for a trinket and 178 for a mace. These were quest rewards, and one of them was like a PoE that dropped. That's pretty low, right? I mean, right now I'm 298. But on my other monk, the ones that I did the dungeons on, they were dropping gear that was 300 item level? Over 300 item level, like 315, 320. So I have a feeling it's dropping heroic level loot, and they just haven't fixed it because it's early beta. But if you are playing any beta characters and you want to get some like really good gear before you go into questing, definitely run Uldamian a couple times, get some of those nice pieces to buff up your item level, and that'll give you a little bit more of an advantage, especially if you're using like a fresh start character. So overall, I think things feel pretty good. I know it's a beta, and right now I currently don't have access to my talents to do anything as soon as I logged off. But other than that, like, you know, it feels good. The questing, as soon as I got into the zone, it felt good. Playing Brewmaster feels good. I thought that playing with Rising Sun Kick was going to feel weird, but actually it's a 10-second cooldown. It didn't feel bad. So, like, you can see on my bars down here, I know they're kind of grayed out, but I've replaced where I have normally Chi Wave on my bar with Rising Sun Kick, and I just kind of use it when I see it come up. And then when I was doing dungeons, I put Chi Wave back there, and then I replaced Rushing Jade Wind with Rising Sun Kick, putting it there, and then it felt really smooth. It kind of just was like, okay, I press this every once in a while, but not all the time. And it does a big amount of damage. Like, it's doing priority level damage. Again, I know it says 5k on the tooltip right now. It was doing 10k, so I don't know if that was they did a hotfix or something else was buffing it that's not buffing it now, but yeah, it just feels good because it kind of feels like a priority button. So playing with it now it's making me feel like it's going to be required to have, especially when you can take fast feet to buff both it and spinning crane kick. So I'm jumping on the Rising Sun Kick wave, I guess. So we'll see if I continue to like that. We'll see how the challenges change as we're going forward. But right now, as far as like first experiences playing in the beta, Brewmaster's feeling pretty good. It doesn't feel like we've lost a whole lot. You know, obviously we've lost right now until we level up more Weapons of Order. But to me, it didn't actually feel that bad because I've kind of just replaced Weapons of Order with Summon White Tiger Statue. So I've literally taken it off my bar where I normally have it, and I put it here. As far as add-ons go on the PTR, or sorry, on the beta, not a whole lot of things are working. The only thing that's working that I normally use, Weak Ores is not working, Elv is not working. I've kind of played around with the redesigning of the screen to kind of make things look how they normally look. One add-on that is working that I normally use on live is Tell Me When, and that one is working. So you can see if I pull it up here and get rid of that bar, my Tell Me When is right here, and you can see all my buttons are here, and I can still redesign them. So the nice thing about this too, I was able to just import my string from live right into here, and boom, it instantly popped up for me. So I was able to save that kind of stuff and have Tell Me When. So that's been pretty nice. Details is not working. Someone said that recount was. I haven't had a chance to test that because as soon as I logged out, I lost all my talents and can't get them back, unfortunately. So that's something if you're on the beta, you can try out. If you're on the beta and you know other add-ons that are working, let me know because I'll download them and test them out and see what works. But Right now, things are feeling good. So that's my first impressions, I guess. I know I've said that a couple times, but I plan to have more content coming out. I'm going to finish leveling this thing up, and as soon as I get access to talents again, hopefully I don't have to redo it again. But I'll get it leveled up, and then hopefully we'll jump into some max level dungeons with some of my buddies or just some people that are also on the beta. But I'll keep that content coming. I've got other live content, some other keys that I've done at high levels that I'll have explained coming out soon. So keep an eye out for that, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!